This lesson provides a brief history of the Windows Server product. The first version was actually Windows NT 3.1. The NT stood for New Technology, so WNT. Many people speculate that Dave Cutler, who also created VMS, just moved the initials one letter up, VMS WNT. And this was the first version of Windows that wasn't built on top of DOS. In the past, Windows and Windows for Workgroup were actually almost applications that were triggered after DOS had loaded directly on the hardware. With NT, it triggered directly, and initially it supported a number of different types of hardware architecture. There was MIPS, Alpha, over the course of history, Itanium, and now really focuses on the AMD 64, the 64-bit operating systems. Now, all versions of Windows are actually built on NT. The NT name has been dropped, but if you look at Windows 10, if you look at any of the Windows Server, they all actually run on what is that NT kernel. Historically, Windows Server had always looked the same as the client operating system. Windows Server 2016 is really the server equivalent of Windows 10. They share a huge amount of common code. Windows Server 2012 R2 and Windows 8.1. You'll always see this commonality between them. So you have a server operating system that had a very rich interface. And this was a benefit early on. It made it very intuitive for administrators new to the platform to find their way around and perform actions. However, as Windows has matured, the idea of having a full graphical interface on a server operating system doesn't always make sense. So Windows Server 2008 introduced the idea of server core. This stripped away the graphical interface. This stripped away the local management tools. It was fairly limited in that initial version, but Microsoft have built on that until it really evolved into configuration levels in Windows Server 2012, where it was possible to have the management tools installed but not the GUI. I could change it over time. And today, the goal for most deployments would be server core. So what does a server core actually look like? I've logged in and I get a command prompt. There is no Explorer. There is no Internet Explorer. There is no Server Manager. There is no MMC. I have a few powerful graphical tools such as Notepad. I have the registry editor. I even have Task Manager available to me. But essentially, this is designed to run headless. I'm not connecting to the console. I can deploy pretty much every role and feature of the operating system to a server core deployment, except for remote desktop services. That obviously doesn't really make sense. Remote desktop session hosts are designed for users to connect to them for a user experience. That wouldn't work well in a command prompt. But everything else, my domain controllers, my file servers, my Hyper-V servers, are all great fits to run on server core. So I would manage it remotely. So this is the big shift. Server core has really become the default installation option now for Windows Server. We'll actually see this as we walk through an installation later on. Whereas the graphical mode of Windows Server was the default, that default is now actually shifted to server core. And the version with the GUI is almost niche scenarios now, that remote desktop session host. As of Windows Server 2008 R2, it is now 64-bit only. And as mentioned, the focus now is on remote management. I'm not RDPing the remote desktop protocol to each of my servers and then managing it as if I was sitting at the console. My goal is to now manage remotely, but also not manage one machine at a time. I want to manage multiple machines as easily as possible. We'll see some of the graphical tools now focused around multiple machines, but really PowerShell and its remote management capabilities are key around Windows Server management. I can write a single command and target 100 machines as easily as targeting one machine. So this is where we are today. Windows Server 2016 has evolved from a huge amount of history all the way back to Windows, but it's not just the on-premises solutions that have helped build Windows Server 2016. Microsoft also has these massive cloud investments. Look at Azure. Xbox, Bing, Office 365. And they've really taken all of their learnings from operating these massive cloud services, and the on-premises and the cloud have really met with Windows Server 2016. Windows Server 2016 is designed to be the platform, the operating system to use on-premises, to use in hoster scenarios, and to use in the cloud. Microsoft's Azure cloud runs on Windows Server.